time, huh? Third time's a charm. Third time's a charm.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So how you feeling, Richard? You
I'm
still
feeling
on the
pretty
job?
good, man. Everything is going all right.
Everything is good. All right. So we're about to tackle, how to deal with grief. Like I said, I was in the grief recovery class, and I realized a lot of things about me, a lot of things that I needed to change, a lot of, identity issues I needed to attack and tackle and get rid of and get over. So, to kick it off, what is grief?
Well, grief is normal and natural. It is the emotional response that you or I have to change or loss of any kind. I'm talking about something as simple as death, divorce,
Yeah.
moving, financial changes, health changes, relationship changes, dreams and expectations and goals are also a part of the unmet hopes and dreams and other things that are intangible, like loss of safety, security, respect. How about faith? And most of all, hope. You see, grief is universal. All of us have experienced at one time or another in our lives and throughout our lives as a result of many changes that have gone on and things that have happened in our lives. But we're not we're not quite capable in order to be able to handle the level of, or even manage the changes in our life, or even recover from the emotional impact that we face, which results from so many changes and losses in our lives. I'll give you an example. Let's say
Okay.
you're a young man and you're playing sandlot football, maybe pee wee, maybe midget football, and you know how to respond when you score a touchdown. I bet you every young man across the United States and even in other foreign countries has watched people do the little dances they do when they score. So everybody knows how to do those dances. Everybody knows how to spike a football. But we pan the camera around for the second and look at the kid who did not make the touchdown. Look at the kid who didn't quite score in the game. Look at the kid who lost. And there you have a picture of grief. You know and understand that those people can't quite grasp, can't quite get a hold of the fact that they're lost. See, society teaches us a lot of times what to do when we lose, but very seldom do we have a class on what to do when we lose. I'm sorry, we know what to do when we win.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's pose those words. We know what to do when we win, but
Okay.
very seldom do we know what to do when we lose.
All right. So why do we have to be prepared to handle grief if grief is normal?
Well, first of all, we need to say that grief is universal.
Okay.
Effective ways of dealing with it are also pretty much universal. Oftentimes, we manage our grief in the same way or do same stuff or similar stuff, probably the way that our parents or caregivers or other key figures in our lives have managed theirs. In fact, many times it goes down generation after generation after generation. We have things that like we call wakes, and
Yeah.
when we sit and we just grieve and moan. But if we look over in the corner, we see the men, and the men don't really grieve that much. Men don't really mourn. After all, you know that you're a man. Suck it up.
Yeah.
You can handle it. You got to be strong for other people. In addition to looking at these people and the key figures in our lives, we also learn ineffective tools from dealing with grief from other adults in our lives as we grow up. People like teachers,
Okay.
people like clergy folk, coaches, counselors, and even the media. I saw today where a man who used to play for the Seattle Seahawks had bipolar issues, and we don't make light of that at all. People
Yeah.
with mental health issues, but he actually took it out on his girlfriend and beat his girlfriend. And the chilling thing about the whole ordeal, as we found out about it, is that after she locked herself in the bathroom and came out, he actually said, I thought you were dead. Oh, you're not dead. So I believe that that young man has some grief issues in his life, in addition to now he's got legal issues in his life, and doesn't know how to cope and deal with that, as well as deal with the bipolar issues. But a lot of folks who don't even have issues concerning mental health also have some grief history in their past. Things like TV and music personalities, as additional to someone like the sports figure who I talked about a little earlier. We don't
Okay.
know how to deal with this grief. We don't know how to deal with stuff that goes on around us. You see, grief is an emotional response, if I may put it that way, Darrik.
All right.
Oftentimes, we try to ease our grief by using intellectual tools. We try to figure it out, much the way that you can figure out stuff, like the technical difficulties that we had earlier, or how to solve a problem, like as though we're solving a math problem, or how to understand it. Just as if we were to paint a room. And bear with me for a second now.
Yeah.
I know that you know how to paint a room. But what happens if I give you ineffective tools? What if it happens if I give you a hammer or a screwdriver and say, paint the room?
Yeah.
While you can throw some paint around it and make a mess, it's not going to be as effective as if you use the right tools. If I give you a brush, if I give you a roller, that's what the grief recovery method does. Is it gives us the proper tools to be used for us to be able to do the work that we so desperately need.
I know that's right. Because when I was taking the class, it brought me back to the past, and it helped me deal with some things and some issues, especially when we was doing the timeline, from birth till now. It was a lot of things that was going on, in my head that I was dealing with mentally, emotionally, and I found out that I was grieving about some stuff,
Yes.
and I needed to deal with those issues, and I needed to overcome them because I didn't want to take them into the future because I've already carried them for long enough, you know.
And it's good that you came to that point where you wanted to, for lack of a better word, to unpack some things. Many times we just carry stuff with us the whole time, and especially it's important in relationships, because if you could see two people who are walking together, that's one thing. But to see them and see the emotional baggage that they
Yeah,
have in their back that they're both carrying, and then both of them very seldom don't even dump out some of the things that they've been carrying. But it's a funny thing. Eventually, some of the things will come out. It's almost like I know you cook a little taste. I cook a little bit myself. It's
yeah.
almost like I'm cooking a pot of rice and
Okay.
or boiled chicken, going back to my background. And after I've seasoned the water and turned the heat up and turn up to a certain point and then put the rice in, and if I don't turn the heat down,
Yeah.
what happens is it boils over. And it will boil over at the most inappropriate times. And you'll say things and you'll do things and actually hurt other people. Remember that hurting people actually hurt people. And we will hurt other people simply by the fact that we push these emotional things down. And many of us have heard the same old stuff said over and over again. Like when someone passes away and they say, well, he or she is in a better place. Now I'm waiting for somebody to jump up and say, wait just a minute. See, we're too polite with our grief, because if truth were told, we don't want to hear that the person is in a better place, especially if they were living a healthy life and a healthy lifestyle. Because our thought in our mind is, I want them here with me right now. I want them to interact with me right now. Don't tell me we're in a better place. I don't want to hear that, and tell me, how does that help me? It's almost like grief can be expressed in this way. It's almost like reaching out for someone who was always there, someone who would comfort you, someone who you had a relationship with, and you reached out for them one more time and found out that they were not there. Or if I might say it this way, it's almost like reaching out for someone who was never there. Never attended any of our baseball games, never attended any of our basketball games, never attended any of our plays, and reaching out for them one more time and finding out that they're still not there. These things present issues in our lives, and these issues have to be addressed. They must be addressed. Now, I don't want to talk too long about it because I realize this is your show.
Oh,
But
that's all right.
America grieving today.
Yeah.
Isn't America going through so many things until it's mind-boggling? Many people have been shut up in their house for far too long. Although we have to obey the laws of the land, the laws that are necessary for our own safety and for the safety of other people. But just think about it. Folks have been in their home for a long time. They're grieving things like a change, the normal job that they used to go to. The normal people that they would see, just to drive into work or to walk into work. Things like these have us grieving. Me as a professor, formerly thinking about stuff like students and not being able to interact with students and that kind of stuff. These things bring about a level of grief in our life.
Yeah, especially with COVID going on, everybody's grieving.
Oh,
So,
man.
so now, since we know that grief exists, you said recovery. How is this achieved? How do people recover from grief?
Well, the grief recovery program, GRM, the grief recovery method, I might say it that way, is a step-by-step process or an action program. And I'm so happy for the action because what this does is this unlocks a lot of the respecting and the emotions that we've had in the past that we've experienced through our grief, both the immediate and the present grief issues that you're facing, even at the time. This unlocks it. Those that many of us have had hanging around for many of years. Often we deal with the most recent or the presenting loss that the person has at the time, which makes it more difficult by relating experiences from the past and the other losses that we've had. So through a step-by-step method, a step-by-step program, which, by the way, has been tried and tested and proven true, the GRM, or the grief recovery method, first explores the old stuff, the old situation, the old effective tools that we used to use. And we've been using them for a long period of time. And we need to find out why these things don't work. And then the process will shift us into an introduction of new tools. Oh, thank goodness we've got new tools. Things that run a gamut of things, of choices from persons that we've lost to pets that we lost. Many times people take it too lightly, but someone can lose a pet and it can have devastating results on their life and their lifestyle. Everybody is not going to be like us when we were like, me and my younger brothers were like 7 and 8 years old, and we had a dog that we loved called Challenger, and then Challenger died, and we dug a hole and put the dog in the hole, but we didn't really say any words over it. We were just told to go out and bury the dog. But it gets even deeper than that. It runs the gamut on down to dreams and expectations. What about a guy who was a football player, who was a basketball player, and had dreams of going to the NBA or the NFL? And then finally, what did he do with those dreams? What did he do with those expectations? I know what most of the guys did. They beat up on us, especially in basketball, for a long period of time on the courts around town. They actually played better than anyone who we knew at the time, but they end up staying out and just playing and playing and playing. Yeah. And then there's the level of things that are intangible, like trust. What does a person do when they lose trust? What do you do when we're sitting at the kitchen table and all of a sudden your mate or your spouse walks in and tells you that it's over? That they've already started a new relationship or they're thinking about moving out. There's a loss of safety. There's a loss of trust. What do people do when there's a loss of faith? I know in the faith community, many people have lost faith, especially in their leaders at the time. What do you do? But the good thing is at every step, the griever is going to be respected in the classes that we hold, listened to, and most of all, held and hurt without judgment. Being able to just simply listen there and listen to the hurt and the pain that they feel, and know that everyone else in the class is a fellow griever, and we're not there to fix people. We're there to listen and to judge them without any analysis or anything of that nature. It's also going to be satisfied and supported by identifying the voice and giving an array of emotions that people go through, but not giving them tissue and me holding a box and saying, here, or dry it up. Once the recovery method is completed for one loss, it can be used. That's a good thing about this, over and over and over again, and other past losses, and they help us more effectively address the grief that we have in our life. I can't say enough about the wonderful program that the grief recovery method process has.
Yeah, it is a good program. And like I said, I did it. I went through it, and it was kind of odd not being able to hand somebody tissue, you know. That's just what I'm used to.
Yeah.
Trying to pacify the situation. Oh, it'll be okay. Even saying words that you shouldn't be saying as far as they're in a better place. Who actually wants to hear that while they're in the middle of grieving?
But we say it, and we say it because we've heard it said over and over again. And one of the things that I do now when I visit with people who have a level of bereavement in their life is I just sit and I quietly listen.
Yeah.
And I empathize. I don't say anything because I found out that when we're outside of our mind, when we're saying too much, and when you lose your head, it's the wrong time to find your tongue. That's the wrong time to say something wrong. It's best to just sit and just listen and lament. And if you knew the person or you know about their loss, just to sit there and just comfort the person, be a comfort to them, rather than to try to tell them. Because what we want to do is we want to say something that makes us feel better. That's the wrong thing to say.
And even in the smaller groups, you know, it's just you just sit and listen. It's okay to give somebody a hug after they told you how they feel or the hurt or pain. And it's a lot of other stories. It's not just, you're not the only person with a story. Everybody has a story, is what I've learned going through the process. And, you know, maybe your story isn't as bad as somebody else's, but it's still your story. You know,
and listening is so important because, you know, we listen to understand. We don't listen so we can respond, or listen waiting for the person to take a pause so that they can, quote unquote, finally shut up. So now you can tell them how you feel in that situation or in that time. Sit and listen and to learn. That is a very valuable tool that we do well to learn in our lives. Sit and listen. Sit and listen.
Just sit and listen. Okay, so could you tell me some more about the process? You know,
certainly. The grief recovery method is an action-based program. Thank goodness it's action-based, and involves reading and writing assignments. So that you'll have assignments. You get a book, and you'll have like a scenario to cover, a situation to cover, and then there's reading and writing involved. And the grief recovery action handbook has all of the steps in it for us to be able to move beyond divorce, death, and other losses. The grief recovery method has been shared for over 40 years now. I watched this on 6 of the 7 continents that we have today in the world, with the book being translated into over 20 languages. So this is stuff that you can trust. The grief recovery method is also a time-limited program with a set number of sessions, depending on whether one is working individually or with a group. And if we do it in the group format, it's not a group drop-in process. It means that the group participants who are there throughout the entire program. So if a person needs to drop in and drop out, it would be better if they do the process one-on-one. But as a group, the group begins to gel and becomes pretty cohesive to help build a whole lot of safety and a whole lot of trust. The grief recovery method specialist, which I, by the way, am happy to announce that I am, has been certified by the Grief Recovery Institute. These specialists, such as myself, are trained to deliver the grief recovery method and have experience in working with a variety types of loss and people from all walks of life. Each specialist has a deep desire to help the grieving people. I mean, from the bottom of my heart, this is a desire, this is a hope, this is a help. I want to say as well that the grief recovery method is evidence-based. It has a lot of things that have been documented and statistically proven to be significant in the improvement of the griever's knowledge, and the attitudes and behaviors that are involved within grief. So we know this is based on sound research. More information and research can be found by going to the Grief Recovery website, or even going to my site and being able to take a look at what's happening there. So that we really want to help people. We really want to help people move beyond grief, beyond where they are, because we're all fellow grievers. Everybody in the class, everybody who's a grief recovery specialist is a fellow griever, and we want to help grievers move along in the process and move to the first point, to the second point, to the third point through the entire process. So take a look around my site, take a look around the Grief Recovery website, look at the blogs, look at the ebooks that you'll find there. And hopefully you'll sign up to receive some emails. You might even purchase one of the books that we have in order to learn more, but you can purchase the book directly through me or one of the people that you find in the online directory of grief recovery specialists. But grief is so pervasive. And it's funny that now, at this time in America, we can see it as grief being the entirety of the entire country, running the span from California over to Florida, up from Maine and Massachusetts on down to Texas. We can see that people are grieving. You know, when everything is going fine and well, it's kind of like Facebook, where people can show us pictures and we look on there and we go, they got a pretty good life. But if you look at it now, lives aren't really that good. Lives aren't really that issue. There's a lot of grieving going on now. Unfortunately, we see a lot of people going, look at me, I'm fine. But behind those pictures, behind those photographs, behind those videos, I promise you, are people that are grieving.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So how did you get involved with grief recovery?
I got involved the first time because my brother passed away. I had a younger brother who was just absolutely brilliant.
Okay.
And I never got a chance to really tell him just how brilliant he was, just how smart he was, and just the fact that I envied him on some level for things coming so easy to him in learning. I found out that when he was in high school, he was in National Honor Society as a junior. He had done all these great and marvelous things, and then when he passed away, I never got a chance to really talk to him and to tell him, man, how proud I was of him as my younger brother, as my little brother. And then at a certain point in time, when I got further in that grief process, then my mother passed away.
Oh.
And oh man, what a pillar of society, what a pillar of life. Helped everybody. Was the president of the local NAACP who did many things, who actually was responsible for me and my two brothers getting on the fire department through a consent decree that they had signed through the fire departments and police departments, and who was just so proud of me when I became a professor. And I thought that I was on top of the world because of the way that she talked about me and the way she spoke of me. She was just so wonderful and so marvelous. And I didn't know what to do with the fact that she was no longer with us. And so I was thrown back into grief recovery once again in order to deal with the grief.
And then after that process, you was just like, I'm gonna stick with it. You became a specialist after that.
Yeah, and then later on, hats off to my church. They were able to sponsor me, and I went through the 4-day training and became a grief recovery specialist. So,
okay, and I will attach the link everywhere that this video is at. I'll make sure the link is there so people can go to your website, check it out. They can get in touch with me, or they can get in touch with you personally. You know, if they know me, they can reach out to me and I'll connect them with you, because I'm vouching for the grief recovery program. Like, it's a good program. And from the grief, you know, from the relationship graph to the grief letter, all the way through, you are learning about yourself. You're learning about what you went through. You're studying your past, the history of what makes you you, and the things that you need to get over, the things that you need to get rid of, some of the stuff you just need to throw away. But you're learning and you're growing through the
Oh,
whole grief recovery process.
oh, absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. Because the grief letter in itself presents a little bit of closure.
exactly.
Because
Exactly.
I never had a chance to say to my brother, goodbye,
Yeah.
except in grief recovery.
Yeah. And one thing that I really would like to focus on for a second is the short term energy release behaviors, because
Ah, yes,
that is what is popular in today's culture, and people accept
yes,
it like they're not hiding something. They're just living a party lifestyle, or, that somebody gets a divorce and then they just go to the gym every single day and they're exercising until they're about to kill themselves. you
yeah.
know, could you explain and elaborate on the short term energy release behaviors a little bit?
Sure, I'll do that. There are things called STIRBs, short uh, energy relieving behaviors, but they're very short term in nature. Um, there are things that we do that cause us and make us feel better, but they make it feel better for only a time, for only a season. I wish many times it was something like workout, but unfortunately, it's probably something more closer to eating comfort food. When someone passes away and everybody wants to bring over a dish, everybody wants to go to the store and get that cake or that pie. And you eat yourself into a stupor. For some people, do into almost like a walking around, and your eyes are open, but you're in a coma. Or if you are given to working out, you go in and you work out extra hard. Or let's bring it a little closer to home. Maybe disturb that you use is alcohol,
Yeah.
and you drink and you drink and you drink. Maybe the scourge that you have is shopping. I believe I'm getting close to home right now. I can hear people that are saying, "Why did he have to go there?" We feel better. I'm in the same boat. You feel better when you've got something new, or when you can put something new on. But
Yeah.
time after time after time, just simply going through these things and participating in it and going through the process, and then at the end of it all, when you bought that last pair of shoes, or that person, when you've eaten that last uh, delicacy or entree, when you drank that last bit of Jack Daniels, I believe in being real.
Yeah.
What do you have? What do you have?
Exactly. And like I said, nowadays it's popular for people to brag about these sturbs like they're not hiding something, or like they're not going through something. It's like you can show all the shopping bags, but are you happy on the inside? Did
Because
you deal
remember,
with the problem?
the terminology is short-term energy-related behaviors.
Exactly. And it's like once that's over with, or you go out every weekend, what happens when you get home at night and you by yourself and you have a failed marriage and you have financial issues? It's like you was dancing the night away, but instead of attacking the problem or getting to the issue, the core of it, and fixing it, you're trying to hide it and cover it up with these short-term energy release behaviors.
Yeah, yeah. It reminds me of a time in my life where I had an argument with another younger brother. Family is it for me, and he told me everything about myself, and I was able to come back and say other stuff, because y'all know we know how to play the dozens, and we know how
Don't
to
we?
crack. And so what I was able to do was say other things to him about him, and not really look at myself. But late in the midnight hour, after my brother had gone home, and I was sitting there in the dark by myself, as I had already turned the light off. And when I finally creeped under the covers and found that my behavior was what it was, that I was missing out on a lot of things that I missed out on. And even though I could say it to him, what
Yeah.
about you and what about this? I wasn't really facing the issues that I had.
Exactly. And we can tend to do that from time to time. It takes a lot of self-reflection and searching your heart to find out that anything is even wrong. Some people is just consistently moving with life and just moving so fast that it's already too late. By the time they sit down and figure it out, it's like they done lost so much. So now it's grieving. That's why depression happens. That's why anxiety happens the way that it happens. When it comes, it just comes rushing in like a flood. Yeah,
And that's really how grief is. Grief will come over us almost like an ocean front. It's almost like standing on a seashore. We've all been, for the most part, most of us have been to a beach, and you're standing there, and all of a sudden a wave comes in, and the wave rushes over you, and then all of a sudden it goes back out again, and we don't know when that next wave of emotion is going to come.
yeah.
But isn't it nice to be able to ride the wave and to surf? You can learn to surf in grief recovery. In fact, I like that. I think I'm gonna write that down.
Exactly. So, what advice would you have for someone who is grieving that needs to seek like a program like grief recovery or a small group where they can talk to people and feel open and feel secure in the surroundings, as such as the grief recovery program?
Well, if you go to my website, you'll see my phone number there, my email address. But in addition to that, maybe you feel like you're in another area or you may need some help. And maybe I'm not the person to help you. There are other grief recovery specialists. You need to call grief recovery at the number 800-334-7606. That's 800-334-7606. You'll be put in touch with a person there who will be able to help you, because that's what it's all about. It's all about helping professions. As I've looked down my life and the legacy that is behind me, I see that I was a firefighter slash paramedic because I wanted to and I needed to help people. I was a professor because I needed to and I wanted to help people. I moved into the pastorate because I needed to help people and help them move beyond a certain point. And certainly I became a grief recovery specialist because I needed and I wanted to help people.
Okay. And like I said, everywhere that this video is, your link will be there so they can get in touch with you. They can send you an email. They can find you. And I mean, we're coming to an end on this thing. Do you have any closing words that you would like to say to the people, especially the people who is dealing with grief because of COVID-19? We've lost a lot of people. A lot of people have been sick. We have to, social distance. We're not in communication with family during holidays. A lot is going on at this time. So a lot of people may be grieving and don't even know it because they're trying to find things to do just to keep their mind going so they don't fall into a depression, because some people need people interaction. They don't want to be alone. So do you have anything to say to the people as far as why they should get in touch with you, or just about grief, period? Closing statements.
Well, grief is normal and grief is natural. All of us have grief in our lives. But what changes things is when you recognize that you have grief and then you reach out to help somebody else. A man once said that no man is an island. No man stands alone. Each person that you see is a brother or a friend. And if you reach out to grief recovery, if you reach out to me, I can either help you or put you in touch with someone who can help you. Because right now, all of America is grieving, all America is suffering, and all of America needs help. And the help is just a phone call or an email sent away. Come on, reach out, reach out. And when you reach out, it's a beautiful thing to find out that there's someone who's also reaching out to you.
And there we have it. I appreciate you. I appreciate everything that you've done tonight. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties.
That's okay.
It's all good. We got it done. And a wise man once told me to make it 30 minutes or shorter. So that's what we're doing nowadays.
All right.
All right.
All right.
I appreciate everything that you've done and all the information that you gave us. If anybody is looking to get in touch with Richard Bennett. The link will be everywhere that this post will be, and you can send them an email. You can contact them through the website, and you can get in a grief recovery class, or you can have a one-on-one session. Again, I did it, and it was a good process. It's a great program, and I vouch for it. Talk to you guys later. Peace.
Bye.